Tonight is Monday, August 26th. I'm going to go ahead and install ESXi 5.5. That was announced today. Let's get started. We are in the BIOS for the setup routine for the boot device. So I've got the USB SanDisk, which is a 4 gig blank USB, flash drive, memory stick, whatever you want to call it, in the pole position in the boot option number 1. I'm not going to put the DVD in the boot target list. I'm just going to go ahead and save it like this. Save changes and exit. And reboot this Core i7 Z68 based motherboard. And I'm going to watch carefully and hit the key that says pick an alternate boot target for this boot only kind of thing. That way I can just leave the DVD in there and not worry about it if it ejects or not. I can just cruise on through the install. So I've created an ESXi 5.5 DVD. And that makes it easier than worrying about 2 USB devices and which ones install and which ones boot. I just went simple, using rather old-fashioned DVD media and a 4 gig USB key to install too. All right, so we have to pay attention now. I have to pay attention now to the keystroke that lets me specify an alternate boot device for this boot. There it is, F11. Okay. Down arrow my way to the DVD drive and hit enter. And there we go. In 5, 4, 3, it's going to boot from the DVD, exactly what I wanted to do. It only needs to boot from it once to go ahead and kick off the installer. Now we just wait. Okay, so now it's just after midnight, and all we've succeeded in doing is booting off the boot media. Now we actually begin the install. So to answer some questions, let's hit enter. The prerequisites, you need to have a network adapter that's supported, and some place to install it too. So I hit F11 to continue. It's now scanning, and it's going to find some pre-formatted VMFS file systems on my machine. Okay. I want to point to the SanDisk cruiser fit. That's my roughly 4 gig empty USB stick I want to install too. So I'm going to hit enter. You'll see I have some other stuff. Okay, it's warning me. I don't actually have anything on it, but all right, I'm going to hit OK to overwrite. US keyboard means hitting enter. It's taken quite a while. Okay, so now we get that last prompt, hit F11 and let her rip. Okay, so it finished. We are ready to reboot. And remember, the DVD is not set to be a boot target, so whether it's removed or not, hitting enter is safe to do. It should just boot right off the USB on this next reboot. Okay, here we go. That's looking very good. Now this build 1266856 that I'm using for this particular install and demonstration. So please read the accompanying article, which is at tinkertry.com. Okay, see some dithering patterns or strange colors. That's just a function of my frame grabbing device. It's still a whole lot better quality than aiming a camera at an LCD monitor. So just ignore the fact that that gray doesn't have a real smooth pattern. Just a side effect of the PCI old device I'm using to grab the VGA output. Okay, I'm in good shape. We want to do our initial look at the networking here. So I'm going to hit F2. Configure management network sounds good to me. Start with network adapters. There's only one. It's unfortunate. So it's seeing my added Intel adapter. It's not seeing my motherboard's real text, I believe. So I'll have to deal with that later. IP configuration. Let's cut over to static. And I'm going to leave it at the available IP that DHCP gave it. the safe and simple approach for this video. Okay, how about DNS? I can leave this Google DNS. I don't have a true DNS in my home lab at the moment, so I would like to name the host ESXi, which is kind of my tradition. For suffix, we could do something like local. When I hit escape, as usual, it's going to prompt us to say yes, save changes, and apply them. Now it's a good idea to do some testing. Let's ping my gateway. That's good. Let's ping Google DNS. And it fails because there's no real local DNS lookup. Again, typical in home lab, not such a great idea if you're looking for best practices. All right, so we really are done there. And you'll see the host name did change, saying ESXi. All right, so now I'm going to need the vSphere client. Once I get that going, I want to install the vCenter appliance, and then I'll be able to use the vSphere web client, which is preferred for 5.5. I need to pause this video a bit as I get ready for that next section. Okay, I've got the files I need. I should probably point out that if we try to get the files straight from so we try to get the file straight from the machine. We can expect a problem when we try to download vSphere client. Problem is it's just not available on the server yet. Okay. There's our clue. 1265620. 12656. Doesn't quite match. It's all right. Anyhow, so I've got the client. And the version of the client I have available. We should be able to just take a look at it. And we're not going to know. Let's just go ahead and install it. Okay, this is getting installed on a local solid-state drive on my local Windows 8 64-bit machine. This video is set up at 720 on purpose, so it shows really the initial install was the focus. So now the initial install of ESXi is done, and we're about to, kind of cut over to using a GUI of sorts. Just to get the appliance rolling, I might want to go to a bit higher resolution. I'll have to think about how I want to do that. Because Google does weird things. You mix up 720 and full 1080. Okay, so we're going to just walk through this client install. Brought this window up off screen, so I slid it back to the middle so you could see it. And here we go. Next, default install. Okay, that finished. Go ahead and launch it for the first time. You'll see you get this new warning. Okay, it's saying you need to use the web client for a lot of features. Now I've got my local host file tweaked. So that 10.10.1.50 is ESXi. So I'm not using actual real DNS, just using a local host file. That way, for the clarity in this video here, when I point to ESX, this is going to work. Log in for a very first time, install certificate, ignore, probably used to that stuff. It overrode any pre-existing connections I had to ESXi before. Nice. Looking good. And you can't see all of it. Let me take care of that. All right. We are in. Here's our build. Let's look at the build of the client. 1265620. Remember our detective work there on where it's trying to grab the code from? It looks likely that it's trying to pick up code from a server that when the product goes GA, that probably is the right code we got here. That's just me thinking aloud here. Okay. So again, this build I have is looking on a public server for a particular build that might show up when this thing goes generally available in mid-September. Reason I expected mid-September, well, that's what happened last time. About 3 weeks after VMworld, the code showed up for download for the rest of the world to get. All right, if we look at configuration, storage gets interesting. I've got some VMFS file systems that are huge. Okay, so that's cool. Go to configuration, security profile, properties, SSH, start and stop with host, start them now. So start them manually and then click start and stop with host, click OK. And now we've got SSH enabled. That'll come in handy if we want to tweak host files, right? Okay. Start and stop VMs, good thing to set. We don't have any set up quite yet. Networking is also something you're generally going to be setting up very early in the process. We talked about security profile, enabling SSH, but we did not get into time. So how would my ESXi host know the time? Well, not yet. It doesn't have any clue. So need to set it up first. So I have Cox Internet. I'll use its time. ntp.cox.net. Great. Restart NTP to apply. Sure. Let's go back in. And we want to start and stop with the host. Okay, so we got time set up.